Introduction. Do you know Rita is suffering from a skin infection? Has she consulted a doctor? Yes, doctor has diagnosed it to be a ringworm infection. But she feels really painful to open her mouth. She cannot even eat properly. Oh, poor Rita. Thank God I am completely healthy. Just being free from disease does not mean that you are completely healthy. What do you mean? Health and disease are interrelated, but there are other factors that determine the health of a person. Let me explain this to you in detail.
Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to understand the concept of health and disease, identify common diseases in human beings. Health and disease. Health. Health is defined as a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Disease. Disease is defined as a condition of the living body or one of its parts that impairs normal functioning and is manifested by distinguishing signs and symptoms. Factors affecting health. Factors affecting health can be broadly grouped as follows. Genetic disorders. Deficiencies with which the child is born. Deficiencies, defects, which the child inherits from parents. Infections. Can be bacterial, viral, protozoal, fungal, or other types of infections. Lifestyle. Food and water intake, exercise and rest pattern, other acquired habits. Factors necessary to maintain good health. Some of the important factors that are necessary for achieving good health are balanced diet, personal hygiene, regular exercise, vaccination, immunization, proper disposal of wastes, vector control, maintenance of hygienic food and water resources. Classification of diseases. Diseases can be broadly classified as infectious diseases. Diseases which are easily transmitted from one person to another are called infectious diseases. Example, AIDS. Non-infectious diseases. Non-infectious diseases are those diseases that are not caused by pathogen and cannot be shared from one person to another. Example, cancer. Pathogens. Disease-causing organisms. Disease-causing organisms are called pathogens. For example, bacteria, viruses, fungi, protozoans, helminths, etc. Pathogens invade the host, adapt themselves in the body of the host, multiply and interfere with normal vital activities, resulting in morphological and functional damage. Common human diseases. Some of the most common human diseases are typhoid, pneumonia, common cold, malaria, amoebiasis, ascariasis, elephantiasis, ringworm infection. Typhoid. Typhoid fever. Cause. Typhoid is caused by pathogenic bacterium Salmonella typhi. Infects the small intestine. Mode of transmission. The bacterium is transmitted through contaminated food and water. Symptoms include sustained high fever 39 degrees Celsius to 40 degrees Celsius, weakness, stomach pain, constipation, headache, and loss of appetite. Complications. In some cases, infection may result in intestinal perforations, death. Diagnosis. Typhoid is confirmed by Widal test. Pneumonia. Cause. Pneumonia is caused by pathogenic bacterium, Streptococcus pneumoniae and Haemophilus influenzae. Mode of transmission. The bacterium is transmitted by inhaling droplets, aerosols released by an infected person, by sharing utensils with an infected person. Mechanism of action. The bacterium infects alveoli of the lungs. Thus, alveoli get filled with fluid leading to respiratory problems. Symptoms include fever, chills, headache, cough. Lips and fingernails turn gray to bluish in color. Common cold. Cause. Common cold is caused by rhinovirus. Mode of transmission. The virus is transmitted by inhaling droplets, aerosols released by an infected person while coughing, sneezing. By using contaminated objects like pens, books, mouse, etc. Mechanism of action. The virus infects nose and respiratory passage but not the lungs. Symptoms include nasal congestion and discharge, sore throat, hoarseness, cough, headache, fatigue. The symptoms usually last for 3 to 7 days. Malaria. Cause. Malaria is caused by Plasmodium, P. vivax, P. malaria and P. falciparum. Mode of transmission. The Plasmodium is transmitted through the bite of infected female Anopheles mosquito. Mechanism of action. The Plasmodium multiplies within the liver cells and then causes rupture of RBCs with the simultaneous release of hemozoin, responsible for the characteristic chill and high fever. Symptoms include chills and high fever recurring every 3 to 4 days. Fatigue. Amoebiasis. Amoebiasis or amoebic dysentery. Cause. Amoebiasis is caused by protozoan parasite Entamoeba histolytica. Mode of transmission. The Plasmodium is transmitted from the feces of infected persons to food and food products through houseflies. Consuming contaminated food and water is the main source of infection. Mechanism of action. The parasite infects the large intestine of the infected person. Symptoms include constipation, abdominal pain and cramps, stool with mucus and blood. Ascariasis. Cause. Ascariasis is caused by roundworm Ascaris. Mode of transmission. The parasite is transmitted through contaminated water, vegetables, fruits, etc. Mechanism of action. The parasite infects the intestine of the infected person. Symptoms include internal bleeding, muscular pain, fever, anemia, blockage of intestinal passage. Elephantiasis or filariasis. Cause. Elephantiasis is caused by filarial worms, Wuchereria W. bancrofti and W. malayi. Mode of transmission. The parasite is transmitted by the bite of female mosquito vectors. Mechanism of action. The parasite slowly develops in the lymphatic vessels of the lower limbs and the genital organs. Symptoms include chronic inflammation resulting in elephant-like lower limbs, gross deformities of genital organs. Ringworm infection. Cause. Ringworm infection is caused by fungi Microsporum, Trichophyton and Epidermophyton. Mode of transmission. The fungus is transmitted through soil, towels, combs, clothes of infected individuals. Mechanism of action. The fungus grows in the skin folds when heat and moisture is available to it. Symptoms include dry, scaly lesions on skin, nails, and scalp. Intense itching around the lesions. Prevention and control of infectious diseases. The following measures are necessary to be followed for the prevention and control of infectious diseases. Maintenance of personal hygiene. Keeping the body clean. Consumption of clean drinking water and food. Maintenance of public hygiene. Proper disposal of waste and excreta. Periodic cleaning and disinfection of water reservoirs. Observing standard practices of hygiene in public catering. Avoiding close contact with the infected person and their belongings. Control, eliminate vectors and their breeding places. Avoid stagnation of water. Regular cleaning of household coolers. Use of mosquito nets. Introducing fishes like Gambusia in ponds. Spraying of insecticides at regular intervals. Placing wire meshes on the doors and windows to prevent the entry of mosquitoes. Use of vaccines and immunization programs. Did you know? Femtosecond laser can be used to detect hemozoin released by the malaria parasite in the human red blood cells. Hemozoin can be induced to emit optical pulses by using right wavelength. These optical pulses can destroy the DNA of parasite without harming the surrounding tissue. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Health is a state of complete physical, mental, social, and psychological well-being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. Most common diseases causing distress to human beings are typhoid, pneumonia, malaria, common cold, etc. Preventive and curative steps to control these diseases are maintenance of personal and public hygiene, avoiding close contact with the infected persons, control of vectors and their breeding places, use of vaccines and immunization programs.
Introduction. Hey, what happened to your nose? Cold and cough. I guess you suffer from common cold very frequently. Yes, almost every 2 months. I easily catch cold if someone suffering from cold passes by. If you catch infections so easily, it means your immunity is very low. Really? So what should I do? You should eat food and take medicines that help you to increase immunity to fight against infections. Okay. Let me explain you what is immunity and how does it fight against infections.
Objectives. At the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify the barriers to innate immunity, understand the concept of acquired immunity, understand the difference between active and passive immunity, understand the concept of vaccination and immunization, understand allergy and autoimmunity, identify the immune system of human body. Immunity. What is immunity? The overall ability of the host to fight the disease-causing organisms conferred by the immune system is called immunity. Types of immunity. There are two types of immunity: innate immunity, acquired immunity. Innate immunity. Innate immunity is the immunity that occurs naturally as a result of an individual's natural biological makeup. Innate immunity is accomplished by the natural body barriers that prevent the entry of foreign organisms. These barriers are physical barriers, physiological barriers, cellular barriers, cytokine barriers. Physical barriers. It includes skin and mucous coating of the epithelium lining of respiratory, gastrointestinal, and urogenital tracts. Physiological barriers. It includes acid in the stomach, saliva, tears. Cellular barriers. It includes leukocytes, lymphocytes, macrophages. Cytokine barriers. It includes interferons that protect the non-infected cell from further infections. Acquired immunity. Acquired immunity is the immunity obtained from the development of antibodies in response to exposure to an antigen. When a body encounters a pathogen for the first time, a low-intensity primary response is produced. However, a subsequent encounter with the same pathogen produces a highly intensified response. These responses are produced with the help of special lymphocytes: B lymphocytes, T lymphocytes. B lymphocytes. They produce proteins called antibodies in the blood to fight with the pathogens. T lymphocytes. T lymphocytes help the B cells to produce antibodies. Antibody. An antibody is a Y-shaped protein on the surface of B cells that is secreted into the blood or lymph in response to an antigenic stimulus to counteract the effect of the antigen. Different types of antibodies are produced in our body, such as IgA, IgM, IgE, IgG, etc. Structure of antibody. Each antibody molecule has 4 peptide chains: smaller light chains, longer heavy chains. An antibody molecule is represented as H2L2. Types of immune responses. There are 2 types of immune responses in our body. Humoral immune response. It is an immune response mediated by the production of antibodies by the B cells in blood. Cell-mediated immune response. This type of response is produced by the activation of macrophages, natural killer cells, T lymphocytes, and cytokines. This type of response is mediated by T lymphocytes. Types of acquired immunity. There are 2 types of acquired immunity: active immunity and passive immunity. Active immunity. It results from the production of antibodies in response to an antigen. Passive immunity. When ready-made antibodies are directly given to protect the body against foreign agents, it is called passive immunity. Examples of active and passive immunity. Active and passive immunity can be acquired naturally or artificially. Vaccination and immunization. What is a vaccine? A vaccine is a preparation of a weakened or killed pathogen or a portion of the pathogen's structure that stimulates antibody production against the pathogen but is incapable of causing severe infection. Vaccination. Vaccination refers to the inoculation of a vaccine to prevent the occurrence of a specific disease. Immunization. Immunization is the process of protection of susceptible patients from communicable diseases by stimulating the immune system through the administration of vaccines. Process of vaccination and immunization involves the following steps. A preparation of antigenic proteins of pathogen or inactivated, weakened pathogen are introduced in the body. As a result, antibodies are produced against the antigens to neutralize the pathogenic agents. Also, memory B and T cells are produced that cause massive antibody production during subsequent exposure with the same pathogen. Thus, the memory of immune system protects the body from any further infection. Active and passive immunization. Active immunization. Immunization resulting from the development of antibodies in response to the presence of an antigen or exposure to an infectious disease. Example, BCG vaccine. Passive immunization. If a person is infected with some deadly microbes to which quick immune response is required, we need to directly inject the preformed antibodies or antitoxin. This type of immunization is called passive immunization. Example, tetanus antitoxin. Allergy. Allergy. The exaggerated response of the immune system to certain antigens present in the environment is called allergy. The antibodies produced to these are IgE type. Allergen. A substance that is foreign to the body and can cause an allergic reaction is called an allergen. For example, mites in dust, pollens, animal dander, etc. Symptoms of allergy. Sneezing, watery eyes, running nose, difficulty in breathing. Cause of allergy. When a person is exposed to an allergen, IgE antibodies are produced which attach themselves to mast cells. Such mast cells, upon further exposure to allergen, release chemicals like histamine and serotonin, resulting in allergy. Treatment of allergy. Allergic symptoms can be reduced with the use of drugs like antihistamine, adrenaline, and steroids. Autoimmunity. Autoimmunity. It is a misguided immune response resulting in the production of antibodies against the tissues of our own body, thus resulting in hypersensitivity reactions. Autoimmune disease. Any disease or damage occurring due to the abnormal functioning of the immune system against body's own cells and tissues is called an autoimmune disease. For example, rheumatoid arthritis. Lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs. The organs where origin and or maturation and proliferation of lymphocytes occur are called lymphoid organs. Types of lymphoid organs. Lymphoid organs are of two types. Primary lymphoid organs. They are those organs where the immature lymphocytes differentiate into antigen-sensitive lymphocytes. Primary lymphoid organs are bone marrow, thymus. Secondary lymphoid organs. The secondary lymphoid organs provide the sites for interaction of lymphocytes with the antigen, which then proliferate to become effector cells. Secondary lymphoid organs include spleen, lymph nodes, tonsils, pairs patches of small intestine, appendix. Primary lymphoid organs. They provide microenvironment for the development and maturation of T lymphocytes. Bone marrow is the main lymphoid organ. All blood cells including lymphocytes are produced in bone marrow. Thymus is a lobed organ located near heart and beneath the breastbone. Large in size at the time of birth but reduces gradually to attain a small size by puberty. Secondary lymphoid organs. Spleen is a bean-shaped organ, contains lymphocytes and phagocytes. Acts as a filter of the blood by trapping blood-borne microorganisms. Lymph nodes. They are small solid structures located at different points along the lymphatic system. They trap the microorganisms or other antigens which get into the lymph and tissue fluid. These antigens trigger lymphocyte activation and cause the immune response. Malt or mucosal associated lymphoid tissue constitutes 50% of the lymphoid tissue of human body. Located within the lining of the major tracts such as respiratory, digestive and urogenital tracts. Did you know dialkyl fumarate can be used in combination with cyclosporin in the form of microtablets or pellets for the treatment of autoimmune diseases such as polyarthritis, multiple sclerosis, Sjogren syndrome, etc. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. The overall ability of the host to fight the disease-causing organisms conferred by the immune system is called immunity. There are two types of immunity, innate and acquired. Physical, psychological, cellular, and cytokine barriers accomplish innate immunity. B and T lymphocytes provide acquired immunity to the body. It can be active or passive immunity. Vaccination refers to the inoculation of a vaccine to prevent the occurrence of a specific disease. The exaggerated response of the immune system to certain antigens present in the environment is called allergy. Any disease or damage occurring due to the abnormal functioning of the immune system against body's own cells and tissues is called an autoimmune disease. The organs where origin and/or maturation and proliferation of lymphocytes occur are called lymphoid organs. They can be primary, bone and thymus, or secondary, such as spleen, lymph nodes, etc.